Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Hair of the Werewolf.
What's up, guys?
I'm Lily, and as you heard there, I have Chase.
Yay!
This is episode 11, I believe.
I think it's 11, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. We have so many, like I said, it's hard to keep track.
Yeah, last one
kidding.
we was the first episode of the new year, and now we're, it's only a few days, but I'm going to say well into the new year.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty happy with that.
It definitely is. Things seem to be going okay.
I would say I don't feel any different than I did a month ago.
I don't know if things are better, but anyway.
We're still drinking and recording podcasts, and it's a little... Ooh, the sun is rising a little earlier and setting
That's
a little
what I was
later,
going to say.
by a few minutes.
Now things are going to get a little brighter physically for us.
Yeah,
so that's nice.
Because the shortest day of the year was a couple weeks back.
Yeah, exactly. So we're hopefully seeing brighter futures because the sun is up more, not because...
But it also is going to bring wind, so allergies. What?
Joke's on you. Mine are year-round.
I have seasonal allergy affective disorder.
I have year-round...
year-round
body
bullshit.
attacking. Yeah, like bullshit. What we're doing here is the goodest part of our lives. Goodest? That's what I'm going to say now.
You said it. Can't take it back.
I can't take it back. It's just like a word that it's now in my terminology. Sorry.
So if this is your first episode, we are a horror podcast where we drink and stuff.
Yes. Definitely and stuff.
And despite what you think, we have not started drinking for the most part yet.
No, we have not. We have poured ourselves a beer. It is from La Cumbre. Shocker, I know.
Because, there are go-tos. We're drinking an Imperial Stout, the La Negra Reserve, limited release, the oldest age beer they've ever done at 18 months. And we haven't even tried it yet. We're waiting.
Yeah, we were going to drink it, I thought, for Christmas. And then I think we forgot because we were drinking other stuff. And now we're here.
Well, I hid it in the fridge so we didn't accidentally drink it or open it. And then
accidentally, yes. When we're drunk and trying to find something else. And it seems like a good idea. We're like, woo! And it's totally not a good idea.
We're out of gin. What should we drink? Look at this expensive rare beer that you're not going to remember drinking.
And then we're just like, live life.
YOLO.
The next morning we're like, oh God, why?
Yeah, and the only thing we remember about the beer is the hangover that is hitting our brain at that moment.
Yeah, because it was the thing that took us over, like that tipped where we were already on top. Yeah.
So, we're here to drink and tell scary stories, and we hope you join us in the drinking and the listening. And so I think it's time for us to cheers and try this beer out.
Yeah, let's all cheers.
God, that's incredible.
Holy cow, that is delicious.
Thick, kind of like molasses, depth of flavor, complex. Oh. Yeah, you guys are missing out. Just saying.
It. Yeah.
Just missing out.
If you're listening to this at home, be sure to open your fancy drink and join us because this is the time for fancy beer drinking.
And it's okay if that's a PBR. We still love you.
Oh my gosh.
Because I love
PBRs are awesome. I don't care.
But they ain't my fancy drink.
They're not your fancy. Exactly.
They're my daily. And all right, Lily. Scare me today.
All right. I think, yes, I might scare you just because this is a story that I had heard before in TV shows and just in general, you know what I mean?
Okay.
But I didn't know as much as I thought I did. In fact, I knew very little.
Will I be familiar with it?
I don't know. Maybe. It's a very popular story.
You've seen a lot more TV than me, so your familiarity is probably a lot broader and stronger than mine.
Yeah, I do tend to watch a lot of haunted this and paranormal that. And
any show that has ghost in the title and usually ends with adventures or hunters or investigators or rectory.
I'm there. All right. So the story for today is The Bell Witch.
The Bell Witch?
Yes. So this is actually a story that was recommended, is the one I was talking about.
Who recommended it?
So it was actually Sean who said,
sweet.
Hey, do you know about the Bell Witch? That would be a really cool story. So, yeah.
Shout out to Sean in New York. What? We miss you, buddy.
Love you. Yeah. So this is for you, Sean. So the story starts with the Bell family. And I thought it was a place or a weird name to give a witch.
Sure.
But apparently it was a family. So here we go. The Bell family consists of John Bell and Lucy Bell, who are married. And I got from one of the sources that he was 32 and she was 12. So off on a good start. Originally,
That's really, really gross.
Yeah, so
I know it's like, this has to be old-timey.
Early 1800s.
You know, it still doesn't make it okay in my mind. 12 is 12.
12 has always been 12.
They might be, like, there's the argument of, like, people had to, like, mature faster. Yeah, mentally, but they still had 12-year-old bodies. It's disgusting.
It's a little creepy. It's a lot of creepy.
All right, so tell me about this nasty relationship.
Okay, here we go. So they originally lived in North Carolina, where they had a farm and were very successful. And then eventually the family moved to Tennessee, where they continued to grow their family and had 6 children. John Jr., Jesse, Drury, Benjamin, Richard, and Betsy.
So if she had them back to back, she would have had all of her kids by the time she turned 18 and was allowed to move out and have a car and everything.
Yeah, she totally, like, pulled a Carrie and moved to New York and tried to find love. So, no. But I guess she did have a few other children that ended up dying.
As was typical of the time.
Right. So I didn't get a lot of information.
It's a very sad reality, but yeah.
Unfortunately. So the story begins, like I said, early 1800s. In 1817, when Bell John said that he encountered a strange creature on his property that resembled a dog.
Okay.
So naturally, he decides to shoot it. But as soon as...
Wait, where is this? Is this Texas?
It's on his prop... No, so now they're... oh, shit, didn't I? I didn't say, did I? Oh, yeah. I said that they moved to Tennessee.
Tennessee. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think it's Adams, Tennessee. Wow, I did not write that down. This is, like, basic facts. So here we go.
If this is another, like, dog snuff story, I'm out.
Oh, my gosh. It is not. Trust me.
Okay.
This is the only dog that we see, I think. Anyway, yeah, so he shoots at it. He's like, away, beast. And then as soon as he shoots it, it disappears.
Oh.
Yeah, so this dog's like, not today. Other pre-witch incidents. So, like, before it's established that we have, like, a witch in our hands.
So there's no known idea of a witch.
So just, like, weird stuff. Right.
Okay.
So Drury Bell, one of the kids, saw a weird-looking bird with, like, an extraordinary size, perched on the fence, and then flew away.
So right now we're seeing a lot of weird animals.
Yeah.
Okay, this is cool. I've never heard of anything like this.
Yeah.
This is pretty awesome.
I think you kind of have. I'll see. Oh, you'll know why.
Well, I'm in skinwalkers, but that's a completely different animal.
We'll see. Betsy saw a little girl in a green dress swinging from a tree, then disappear. One of the slaves by the name of Dean, so obviously the family was slave owners, said on the evenings that he was allowed to visit his wife, a large black dog would follow him the entire way. So, like, a creature would follow him, as he described it. So I guess this is dog number 2, but could be the same one.
Could be the same dog.
Yeah, who knows? But it's just, like, a really eerie things that were happening that they got from multiple people. I don't know what...
And you have a time frame? Is this all happening within a couple days, or is this over, like, months or years? Or you're not sure?
I'm guessing this is, like, pretty... on top of when they had been on the property for a while. Okay. Like, not like a long while, but I don't know. It doesn't seem like it took a long time for things to occur.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's actually a lot of documentation that describes these events or, like, have recorded.
Okay.
And this is, like, a lot of the chunk of information where I got it from.
Okay.
So... this one I got from a source where it says that there was a letter, supposedly the first documentation of a haunting that was dated June 6, 1819. It was found in a Bible or something. Now, so it's very, like, is it...
I assume you mean, like, folded up inside
Right.
the Bible.
I think it was, like, a Bible that was inherited by a descendant or something like that. So it's assumed it's real, but I'm not 100% sure. Anyway, in it, there's a quote that said, "There was no angel. It was a demon in the house. Folks sat in the room reading the Bible to wait on the witch ghost." End quote. Yeah, so in 1894, this was many, 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 many years after the entire incident, M.V. Ingram recorded the information. So he finally wrote it down. On the Bell Witch, as he described it, in his book that is called Authenticated History of the Bell Witch, which also includes illustrations. Now, it contains, like I said, a ton of information and even interviews of the Bell family. So like I said, it includes illustrations as well that demonstrates the strange animals that I was talking about, and like apparently these animals recurringly appeared just before the Bell Witch would come. So now it was just like a signal almost, like maybe she was a shapeshifter. You know what I mean? Or she was creating these weird demonic creatures.
So might have hit the nail on the head with the whole skinwalker.
See, here we go. Yeah.
Skinwalker's got a whole depth of culture and ritual behind it. It's not witch stuff.
Oh, right, exactly. So it's not even.
But it's the same idea of like embodying yourself in an animal.
Right.
So that part only.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so actually, just like a few of the things that I saw the pictures of was a horse with a human face and a dog with a rabbit's head.
But, man, a horse's head with a human face, like, are we talking like we have a whole horse's head and then the human face is like this tiny little human-sized face on it?
I think that's what they mean, not like a centaur or something.
Do you think it would be like right at the front where his lips are, or do you think it's way up high near his eyes are? Because I'm seeing a lot of bizarre...
I think if somebody described cut out a human face, I think we all know what that means. I think that's what was described. So instead of like a horse protruding face, it's like a human face, right?
Wow, that sounds even worse than I was picturing it.
Yeah.
I was okay with like a horse having like a human mask right over his nose, but now I'm just seeing like this like...
It's not a mask.
Wow, this is actually really disturbing sounding.
Yeah.
All right, keep rolling.
So soon after these perverse creatures, like I said, the witch would appear, but not often physically. She would begin knocking at the door, and of course no one was there when it was answered. The noises often escalated into the family's home, and the witch would physically attack some of them, particularly John and their daughter Betsy. Now, Ingram believes that the entity's name is Kate, as he describes in his book. Yeah, because I guess it's in reference to Kate Batts, who was a Bell's neighbor at the time.
Kate Bat?
Batts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it was discovered as such because the entity itself proclaimed her name was Kate. So some of the things that they heard. So obviously the Bell was also communicating with them and talking, and I'll get into that as well. Later they would call out. Oh, so another way that they found out that it probably might be Kate is that every time they would call out to it, it would respond positively, either because it liked it or just because it was reactive, to it, right? Yeah.
Then try calling it like Paul, and it was like, who the fuck is Paul?
I don't respond. That's not my name.
That's not my name.
Now, Kate absolutely hated John, like I said, and the youngest daughter, Betsy. In fact, there's a story written in a diary of the youngest son, Richard Bell, who said one night when they heard the knocking, all these things were happening in the door again, and then obviously the knocking spread through the walls as it was common to do. The entity rushed into Betsy's bedroom, began attacking her by pulling her hair and slapping her.
Oh, yeah.
And we're back to the slapping.
Back to slapping. All right, ghosts out there, I just want you to know, all you ghosts that slap, you the MVPs. This is some serious stuff.
We're apparently fans of the slapping. Because I just think it's so, like, why the slap?
And no one misinterprets a slap. You can't say, like, I think I got slapped. I don't know. No one's ever said that. It's never happened in history. You know when you're slapped.
I know.
Slapping is deliberate. It's painful. It's loud. It's insulting. It's demeaning.
I've been slapped. I have slapped people.
Slapping's like one of the worst things. Like, it may not hurt as much as like a hardcore like punch, but it's got so many other things that come with it that a punch doesn't have. So slapping ghosts, you guys are fucking hardcore. Oh, I'm so happy to be back with the slapping ghosts.
I know. When I read this, I was like, oh yeah, what's up?
Do you think they have like a meetup group in the spiritual world and it's like ghosts who slap?
Okay, so what's trending? Are we slapping? Are we not slapping?
Do you do like open face, close face, backhand, front hand? Is it only women? Is it only men? Are they young? Are they old? I need to know who your victims are.
Here's the thing. I actually, because I remembered that the other person that was being slapped was also the youngest daughter. Ethel.
It's almost like there's this hate for virility and fertility in youth.
Ethel Borley. I guess that was her name. Aside from just slapping, unfortunately for Betsy, it did actually get worse. The attacks became more violent when she became engaged to a local guy named Joshua Gardner. I'm not really sure why.
Yeah, no, it's like, that doesn't even make sense. If she just hated her because she was like a girl, but then if she's like engaged, she's like, oh, she's done. She's over the hill.
Yeah, but like but the other people weren't engaged, I don't think. And maybe they were, but...
You know, it might be like trying to understand what goes through the minds of like psychopaths and serial killers. Maybe we just don't think like slapping ghosts do.
Maybe because like if there was some sort of hate towards her and then she got engaged, it might feel like he's losing the power over her. I don't know. That was my only reasoning.
Or maybe the ghost demon witch had a crush on this guy. Maybe he was a real hunka man.
Then haunt him.
He's a man slice. Well, you don't haunt someone you like. You just...
Yeah, if you're in the schoolyard, who do you pick on?
I was like, you just watch them while they sleep and bathe and all that creepy stuff.
Gross. What's going on? So aside from having, like I said, her hair pulled and slapped, she would also experience being pinched and invisible pins poking her body, which totally reminded me of a voodoo doll.
Or having, like, limbs falling asleep.
Or, like, shingles.
Or shingles. Maybe she had shingles.
Yes, at the young age of 10. I'm just kidding.
Remember, they had to age quickly back then.
Yeah, you get shingles early.
Quick.
Yeah. Within Ingram's writings, there was another incident that was recorded that involved William Porter, John's son-in-law, where he managed... Okay, so this one was extreme. This was just like a section that I read, and I didn't know where it came from, and I don't know how it started or anything, where he managed to wrap the witch in a blanket. So this is one of the times that she actually manifested.
Okay.
With the intent of throwing her into the fireplace. There's actually an illustration in the book that shows this depiction. However, as he walked towards the fire with each step, the witch became heavier and heavier until he was unable to carry her. He dropped her to the floor and ran out of the house.
Can't handle the thick.
Yes. She too thick. Oh my gosh.
He's only about them bony bitches.
Back in the day, might have been. I don't know. So, aside from that one, like, that was just like a really interesting thing to think about, but it was something that happened, I guess. That was recorded, I should say, in this book.
I like it, though.
I like it, too. Other incidents that the family encountered, the father began experiencing mouth paralysis, bed sheets being pulled off in the middle of the night.
Ooh, conjuring vibes.
Yeah. Hearing dogs fighting in close proximity, but never actually seeing anything.
That's a weird one.
That is a weird one, but I think it's just like this anxiety.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, because I can imagine dogs fighting is an unpleasant noise.
Right.
That's a weird one. That's a weird one.
This one, okay, sounds of gnawing on the bed.
Oh, fuck no. Okay, that's a new one, and I never realized how disgusting that would sound.
Honestly, that's a new one for me, too. I was a little, taken aback.
I mean, I assume this is, a horrible, gross gnawing. It's not like a chipmunk doing that.
I mean, is this witch teething? What is happening? So, I have no idea. The chains being dragged on the floor was also another occurrence.
That's a Christmas Carol kind of stuff. That's cool. That was creepy in that.
Yeah, it was. It was a really cool effect. And also in this house, apparently, would have been very terrifying. Now, a family friend was contacted by the name of James Johnston, who tried helping the family as well. He came over, and so the day he came over, it seemed like everything was fine. It wasn't until everyone went to bed, James was awoken and experienced a lot of the same paranormal activity that the family had described previously. So
he was all lonesome, huh?
Well, I guess he was, I don't know how big this house was. It was pretty big from I saw a picture.
Well, everyone slept in just, either they were rich and they had individual rooms, or they were like most people and it was 8 people
shared rooms and stuff. Well, when I saw it, it's a pretty big cabin that they had. Yeah. So anyway,
but people still could sleep through almost anything because people,
yeah. And I guess I don't think he was isolated and he was the only one who heard it. I think he was just now experiencing it as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And
sorry, the whole loneliness thing, I was trying to think of the scariest scenario.
Yeah, so he was totally freaked out, and in the morning since he was there to help, the only thing that he could produce was that he believed it was, and I quote, spirit just like in the Bible. I guess that was his 2 cents on that. But the idea is that he is now involved as well. So, Of course, when you involve somebody else outside, after the incident, the word spread throughout the region, and everyone knew about it, like miles across. At the time, of course. Now everyone knows about it.
Loose lips.
Yeah, he's a gossip queen, I guess. So obviously, once people hear about it, they're like, this must be an attraction.
We gotta check this out.
Yeah, and people traveled long distances to see the witch and to be like on the property and like see if they can like see anything or whatever.
Damn, people be cray. Just sitting there's like, oh man, like this was back in the 1800s where, this was before we had, a lot of the modern ideas of spectacle and whatnot. So back then, a lot of these people had
I don't
to.
think so. I mean, spectacles.
No, I know there was always like circuses and whatnot, but what I mean is, in a world where they're not used to seeing special effects or obviously fake miracles, when they saw something crazy, they either believed that it was magic or many people would have believed this was an actual religious experience.
I don't think the type of people that went there were believing it maybe, or just thinking like maybe it's something, because I can't imagine what kind of stories manifested and like the type of rumors that were spread.
Okay.
Just between two people, there's miscommunication. Just imagine across like villages and stuff. So I'm guessing like you would just have to hit someone like me and be like, I want to see.
You would go too, especially 1800s. Lily's just like, oh, I'm gonna check this shit out.
1800s me.
I'm strong. I'm not susceptible. This is cool.
Yeah, I would be very concerned of myself being there in the 1800s just because of my skin color, but I would totally travel and like try to find out these crazy things. I would be a traveler for sure because I drag you to like ghost tours all the time. Reluctantly sometimes, but definitely drag you.
Well, knowing me, 1800s me would have probably died of polio at 3. And if I made it through that, I would have been like limping and still died in a war at like 12.
I would just like drag you, literally. So yeah, like humans have been humans since like we've been human. And
most obvious statement I've heard.
But you know what I'm saying? Like
humans have been human since we've been human.
But you're describing like unless there's special effects or like we have this idea of anything. True. That's not in our nature.
That's fair. That's fair.
Like our nature did not create. We became who we are because in nature we're very curious and like just want to see everything.
I guess I was just saying nowadays we're more skeptical. So I was thinking that would mean we're more willing to expose ourselves to something that we would easily disbelieve, whereas back then I think if something crazy happened,
but I don't
they
know.
might be more inclined to actually believe something horrible was happening.
Maybe.
But you're right. Maybe I'm not putting myself in the shoes of someone at that time correctly, and I'm overwhelmed with the bias.
I mean, maybe
of today.
Not the amount of people, perhaps, but also this also requires like a certain means to be able to travel and like, stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so like I said. People traveling, which of course led to a lot more witnesses and stories.
Oh, so more people saw it. It didn't like stop. Yeah. This is exciting.
So some of the accounts that people had experienced, when asked, "Who are you and what do you want?" it would respond, "I am a spirit. I was once very happy, but have been disturbed." Okay, this was a cool one. There was an incident where the spirit repeated a sermon that was heard by people 13 miles apart. Not that it was so loud that people heard it within that radius, but people heard it at the same time as a personal experience.
So that's really weird.
Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like it projected itself.
So you're saying the ghost was at like 2 different places at once?
Yeah, but like it was a lot of people who heard this, and it was kind of like, I guess, gathered information and being like, yeah.
Skeptical Chase is coming out. That's like, that story's really dumb.
But why would multiple people who weren't really, in on it, 13 miles apart? I don't know, maybe, but.
I'm gonna chalk this one up to the terrible reporting and witness investigation at the time. But all the reporter got this information while the 2 people were hanging out in the room.
Well, I think these are just like accounts from people, so it wasn't like.
I don't buy that one for a second.
Not that one.
Yeah, that one's gone. Other ones are interesting. That one can go in the poo-poo pile.
I thought it was cool, but I guess not. Sometimes the spirits would claim that it emerged when an ancient Native American burial ground was disturbed.
You're telling me they were talking about ancient Indian burial grounds in the 1800s
Well,
too?
I'm saying like now it's ancient, but I guess
that was a recent cop-out trope for...
Right.
Oh, man.
Well, here we go.
It's been going around forever.
There is a recording of the incident, I think, within the book that I had mentioned, Ingram's book, where the person to disturb the burial ground was, in fact, John Bell's son, Drury, and his friend Corbin Hall. However, another source said... Corbin.
Damn, you don't hear that name very much.
Like in The Fifth Element.
Yeah, exactly. That's like the only time I've heard that name. All right, keep going. I was just not expecting.
Yeah, so another source actually did say that the person's name that was with Drury was Bennett Porter. I have no idea like what the difference or significance of that was, but I thought I'd throw it out there. Anyway, according to the records, the boys were digging around trying to find treasure, as young kids do, I guess, when they're playing, when they discovered a skull, which, of course, I guess, decided to take it back to Drury's house. At some point, when they were inside the home, the tooth of the skull popped off and landed between the cracks of the floor. Yeah, so aligned with this theory, people believe that the caves themselves... So there's, like, the Bell Witch Cave that people describe. Sorry, I should have mentioned that before. But anyway, so, like, that comes kind of incongruent, like, kind of together without when this story was taking place.
Sure.
But at the time of the story that I'm telling you now is very specific to the Bell house.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess now you've discovered that there's a Bell Witch Cave. Yeah, so they found the skull in a mound, kind of like a burial ground, like I said. Obviously, they were digging stuff up. Yeah. But right below that is the cave.
So they discovered the cave below a mound.
Well, they didn't discover it because they were digging up the skull, but there was a cave underneath.
Okay.
That a lot of people believed is... So now they believe it's sacred. So they kind of put two and two together and said maybe this was like a sacred burial ground. Okay. And that the cave had some sort of significance as well. This is just theories throwing out there.
That. Like, I get it.
Yeah, and because of this, just because of like the history or whatever, and what the cave might have been significant, they believe that it could have been a gateway to an afterlife. So now you have like a portal going on here.
Yeah, this is a pretty extreme story. Like, this is like
took
a little
real hard turn.
Obviously, you got a bunch of people in portals and caves and afterlives and...
There's a lot going on. So, moving forward. John Johnson, the son of James, who was the first family member, or like the family friend, yes, that stayed with them.
And he experienced it tonight, yeah.
Wanted to investigate as well by asking a question that only his family would know. He asked, what did his Dutch step-grandmother, who lived in North Carolina, say to the slaves if she thought they did something wrong? The witch replied, with his grandmother's accent, "Hut tut, what has happened now?" That was the quote. So I guess he got freaked out because he had not told anyone that, and his family was just it was just kind of something like they knew because their grandmother or step-grandmother did, but whatever.
So I'm admittedly just trying to imagine a Dutch North Carolina accent.
I have no idea. Yeah. There was another incident with another investigator that stopped by the Bell's house. It was an Englishman. I didn't get his name. That went to visit the family, of course, who would ask the witch questions. The witch didn't respond until he mentioned at some point that his parents were overseas. That's when she began to perfectly mimic his parents' voices. Despite this, the Englishman stayed only to be awoken by the voices of his parents in the early morning. So he ended up staying the night anyway, and then like totally freaked out. And he like left quickly after that. Later, the Bell family received a letter from the Englishman apologizing of his skepticism. I guess he was kind of like perhaps a jerk.
Oh, so he's like, this shit was crazy.
Yeah. And that his family reported that they had been visited by the Bell Witch as well.
The family that wasn't even there.
The family who was like in England. So I guess like at some point he heard from his family what happened and he like put two and two together.
Oh, okay.
Right.
This had to have been one hell of a correspondence. I mean, back then, a letter was going to take months, so.
Well, yeah, like that's why I said later, like not, he didn't just ring him up and be like, yo.
Hey, you remember back 20 years ago? I just heard back from my family. Apparently 20 years ago they had some witch shit too.
Yeah, it could have been just even brought up and be like, oh, this crazy thing happened like 2 moons ago. I don't know. So.
You think they like didn't know how to tell time and they did?
They did not.
Many moons ago. They had calendars, believe it or not.
No. This is the early 1800s. This is way too old.
They didn't have licorice, they didn't have television, and they didn't have calendars.
So for me, they might as well be cavemen. Oh, Lord. Okay. So despite all the horrible things that the witch would do, she would also display some form of kindness towards a few family members.
Were they young girls?
No, they were not.
They were not.
The one that she apparently really favored was Lucy Bell, the wife. The witch would describe her as the most perfect woman to walk the earth.
I'm starting to have some ideas. All right, keep going.
Ooh, okay. It would also sing to her and even bring her fresh fruit.
Sweet.
Yeah, so this witch kind of did it all. I guess to just recap, the witch would sometimes manifest itself, obviously. Otherwise, how else are you going to be thrown in a fire? Sometimes it would just do physical things. But a lot of times it was talking. Like, it was responsive as hell. The witch also seemed to like John Bell Jr., just one of the sons. But I didn't get a lot of information as to, like, what she would say or whatever.
Sure,
I guess maybe she just left him alone and that was enough. I'm
still having trouble wrapping my brain around how super active and talkative this ghost is.
Yeah.
You think I'd heard about this. This is where I'm having a hard time chewing all this, you know? It's seeming a bit sensationalized by maybe media at the time. But okay, but keep going.
Yeah.
Tell me more about the witch.
Okay, so, well, aside from having her favorites, and like I said earlier, that she absolutely despised Betsy and also John Sr.
Yeah.
She also, just going back to that, the witch often mentioned how much she hated him. So she actually, like, straight up said it all the time. The witch would also refer to him as Old Jack. Not really sure why. There was a lot of death threats and physical abuse. So very similar to, like, what Betsy was experiencing, I guess. And
maybe
like
some slaps.
But I mean, like, also, like, aside from the slaps, probably, he, like I said, he had the mouth paralysis, and he was kind of getting, like, bedridden. Like, he was slowly deteriorating.
He's sick.
Yeah, so we don't really know what might have been causing that. They didn't really specify. Okay. There's, like, theories, perhaps, like, but who knows? Anyway, he was deteriorating, and which led to his death on December 20th, 1820. So that's 3 years after they had first encountered.
Yeah, all this had begun.
Right. The circumstances I think are very strange.
Of his death.
Mysterious. Right.
Okay.
So he died in his bed, and near his body there was a vial full of black liquid that no one had seen before.
Sweet.
Right. So while the family was mourning, like, just discovering that their father, husband, whatever, had died, they heard the Bell Witch's voice through the walls, singing old drinking songs, and said the following thing, quote, "I gave old Jack a big dose of that last night, which fixed him," end quote. This is like the reports of the family.
Oh man, that's a super creepy. He was fixed. Oh, that's messed up.
That's really gross. Yeah. In 1821, the witch announced that it was leaving, but would return in 7 years, which it did.
Oh, it's punctual.
Yeah, 1828, the witch returned, and the poltergeist activity started again. However, the family that was still in the house, which I guess was Lucy, Richard, and Joel. Did I write that right? Who the fuck is Joel?
Yeah, who the fuck is Joel? He's a new guy.
Oh, Lord. I think I meant...
He's a new character that came in season 2.
Oh, man. I have no idea who Joel is, and I just wrote that down. So, confirmed, it was Lucy and Richard. Anyway.
And possibly a dude named Joel.
And possibly Joel. I don't know. Maybe Joel joined them for a little bit. So, but the family decided to ignore it. All these occurrences, they were like, no.
Sure.
We're just not going to acknowledge it. And it stopped.
Oh, yeah. Silent treatment.
Woo, yeah.
That's a mom caliber ghost. That's what we gotta do now. It's like, just ignore it. It's gonna go away.
Wow, Mom, you're right. Thanks.
Moms always know.
So, that is kind of the end of the Bell family information that I'm going to be providing.
Okay.
I'm going to go into a lot of other random facts that I picked up. Now, with that said, I do want to also say there was so much information after this, like people's experiences, like how it affected the area, like how people perceive the witch and all these things. And
Sure.
there was so much information. I'm going to go ahead and do a part 2.
This episode or?
No, like for another episode.
Really?
Yeah, Bell Witch 2. Like the aftermath.
Can I ask some questions?
Not yet. Just kidding. No, go ahead.
All right. So first I'm going to say some of these things kind of suggest to me that maybe it was the mom the whole time.
The mom?
Yeah, maybe she was doing some
She's just like straight up going to costume mode and then
bitter witchcraft stuff in the background.
Oh, so you think it's still witchcraft?
No, if we're buying it's witchcraft, maybe it was the mom. She's kind of pissed off because she hated her youngest daughter, but she loved her son. Maybe she hated her husband a little bit.
I like how you have no other explanation. You're skeptical and you're like, but maybe she's the witch.
No, this isn't a skeptical thing. I was just some of this is sounding like the mom. Other question I have, I'm buying into this just by saying I want to enjoy the witch story. So this is cool. Yeah. Second question is you said that she shared and responded to the name of their neighbor. Yet you told me nothing about them going over to their neighbor and being like, yo, what the fuck?
No. I think the neighbor died is the way I...
Okay, so either you said that and I missed it. But I was like, why did anyone walk over and was like, yo, what's up with this fucking witch that's like your name?
Oh, right, like she's a witch and she's like...
I was waiting for that to become a thing. And it's like we never mentioned the neighbor again.
Right, so my guess, the way they talked about it, like every time I read about it, it always felt like she was dead. But it was never really specified and there was not a lot of information about it. Like, she died on this day. Granted, maybe I should have like dug a lot deeper.
Okay.
But it was just something that popped up. I need to read this book is all I gotta say. The Ingram book, because that's like where a lot of the information is coming from.
I'm already interested because this is prominent activity compared to most ghost stories. When you hear stuff, this is with this many people witnessing it. This is crazy. Yeah. I'm excited. I
think it's awesome. I love it. So let's go into some other facts. This one's actually pretty cool. So you're gonna be like, oh Lord, but here we go. Andrew Jackson.
Wait.
Yes. The 7th president.
I was like, President Jackson?
Right?
Okay.
He went to the property. He was curious. Many accounts say that during his time, while he was in the military, him and his a few buddies went to visit the Bell. Here's a quote. I'm just going to straight up say this because I read this already before and it's been talked about. Like, I saw some YouTube videos just to like check out some stuff. And then I, read Wikipedia and like random sites. And this one seems to pop up quite a bit. It seems to be like just something that people have accepted. So I'm going to read a portion of Wikipedia. Only because it's funny. I felt like I didn't want to change it or like put it into my own words.
This is a Wikipedia quote.
And a lot of it is quotes too. Anyway, so Wikipedia, quote. The Bell House was strained of resources from visitors and Jackson brought a wagon load of supplies with his men. Again, this is him in the military. Nearing the Bell homestead, the wagon stopped and appeared fastened to its position. Despite considerable efforts by Jackson's men to free it, Jackson exclaimed, "By the Eternal, boys, it is the witch." I don't know why I said it that way.
It is the witch. All right.
A metallic voice was heard in the vegetation. "All right, General, let the wagon move on. I will see you again tonight." The horse began to move again. Instead of camping out, the party decided to stay at the Bell House that evening. Among the Jackson party was a witch layer, quote unquote, who boasted of his supernatural exploits. So it took me a second to figure out. I was kind of sitting there. What the fuck is a witch layer? He lays witches, like he lays with them. He
has sex with them.
Yeah, because I think the wording, once I read the rest, I'm like, I reread it, and I'm like, who boasted of his supernatural exploits.
All the witches love me. All the witches love me.
All the witches love me. Yeah, I think he was just being a jerk. Anyway. So.
Hey, have you heard of the Bell Witch? Oh, yeah, I have. I
banged her. Oh, man. This guy. So, back to the quote. Or Wikipedia.
He's such a Todd.
Tiring of the bravado, Jackson whispered, "By the Eternals, I do wish the thing would come. I want to see him run."
Ah.
The entity arrived and taunted the witch layer to shoot her.
Whoa.
Yeah. The man's gun would not fire. The witch countered, "I'll teach you a lesson," and appeared to beat the man and let him out the door by his nose.
Mm.
Jackson exclaimed, By the eternal boys, I never saw so much fun in my life. This beats fighting the British. End quote. The witch told Jackson she would uncover another rascal the next night. That morning, Jackson's men chose to leave for home as they were apprehensive as to who was next.
So they all saw this ghost too.
I don't think they ever saw the apparition. Like, I don't think they actually saw the witch or, like, whatever it was.
But they saw him somehow being let out by his nose in some way.
Right, unless he was putting on a show, which why would he do that? Like, he's too cocky. Like, I don't think he wants to look inferior. And, but they also heard her say, I'll teach you a lesson and all that stuff. So, yeah.
Damn.
And Andrew Jackson was loving it.
He's all about that.
And he's like, ha, ha, ha. I hate that guy.
Man, do you see that? Ghosts and stuff. I'm going to be president. True story.
Anyway, I'm just going to be president real quick.
Just, something I got to do.
Yeah.
BRB.
I have... Okay, so we've been going on for quite some time. I think I'm going to save the other stuff for the next episode.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it's kind of cool, but like we have a lot of stuff, and I know you have a story going on.
I have a story.
Yeah, and I'm pretty excited about that. Let's see. Let me just double check if there's something I want to real quick say, because I have like 2 pages of other stuff, but I don't want to.
I'm excited for it.
Yeah, and then, but see, I'm worried that like if I don't say it now, then the next episode is going to be even longer. This is such an exciting story. I'm like pretty giddy about it, but... Yeah, I'm going to save it. I'm going to end it there with Andrew Jackson.
Alrighty. So this is the perfect time to take an intermission and get some drinks. Refresh our drinks. So everyone, take a minute, go get yourself a drink, and we'll see you
in a little bit. Welcome back, guys. And we have had our drinks. I hope you have too. Or something that's cool. A snack. Get a snack. Sometimes we need snacks. So Chase, you're next.
Well, for those of you who might have been sad from last episode, this episode I do have an end of episode encounter.
Yes.
This is a little different from the others, but I think it is equally as interesting. And so... this all started because I was watching a video of an alleged UFO encounter that happened in Hawaii like just a couple days ago.
Ooh, whoa, a couple of days ago.
Like the 2nd.
Whoa.
Yeah. So the number of UFO sightings that occur in Hawaii is ridiculous.
What?
They might actually have the highest number of sightings per state in the U.S.
Like, wow, okay.
They see, and it's always in the sky, it's always lights and everything all the time. A lot of times scientists can explain them away, sometimes they can't, but they're all over the place in Hawaii.
Interesting.
You could probably digest this into a lot of stuff, but I'm not here to actually talk about that UFO encounter because...
just kidding.
So the one from a few days ago was shockingly comical. I heard the 911 tape, and the chick who called in, she's like cussing. She might have been drunk.
It was me.
So she was saying things like, quote, and I was like, oh shit, it looks like a fucking UFO. End quote. Not joking. She totally sounded like that. She seemed fun and all, but...
like you want to party with her, but you don't want to take her seriously.
Yeah, and okay. I'm not going to talk about this video because I watched the video. It's not very long. It's very blurry. It's very shaky. It did look like a blue weird thing, but could have been a million things. It's not worth divulging. But while I was looking at that, it allowed me to go deeper into Hawaii UFOs. But then, after I went through the Wikipedia tunnel, it led me to one of those interesting things about Hawaii.
Okay.
And it's something that no one talks about, and that's that the number of observatories and telescopes that are actually located in Hawaii.
Yes.
There are so many there.
I did actually know that. Woo! I know something.
So there's a lot all over the world and a lot concentrated in places, but Hawaii has a lot. And so there's a lot of factors as to why so many observatories and telescopes are there. Many of them are actually specifically on the summit of Haleakala, if I'm pronouncing it correctly.
I don't know the names. Cool.
Which is about 1/3 above the Earth's troposphere, which helps with viewing conditions.
Oh, nice.
But there's so many factors, and I don't want to waste everyone's time, but they include things like weather, humidity, prevailing winds, light pollution, everything that make it just the perfect place to put observatories. So that means not only are you seeing a bunch of UFOs from just the regular folk down there, but you actually have scientific instruments monitoring the sky there, which I think is interesting how those both kind of mix up.
Well, they kind of like interesting that they see so many things, and then also there's like so many official people observing, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a roundabout way to get me to the story I want to talk about. And that has to do with something that they observed in 2017.
Ooh, okay.
I want to talk about the Oumuamua.
How is it?
Oumuamua.
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 Yeah.
Wow, that's not easy for me to say for some reason. Interesting. Okay, go.
So this isn't like a UFO conspiracy theory thing. This is a scientific that we're going to be talking about. That's all we're going into right now. So now we've all heard of, if you've heard of them, you may have even seen some of these meteors, asteroids, comets, all that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, people know what they are. These are objects that are made of rock, ice, other elements that exist in our solar system. They're kind of like going around the sun, just like planets and everything like that.
Sure.
But many of them have kind of weird, bizarre orbits that work differently than planets. Mm-hmm. For example, you have Halley's Comet or Halley's Comet, which has an orbital period of 75 years. It takes 75 years to go around. But then you also have like
Crazy bitch.
Hale-Bopp, which got an even more bizarre orbit because Hale-Bopp takes a little over 2 millennia to go around. I mean, there's some pretty crazy stuff. But all these objects, you know, we're talking about meteors, comets, asteroids, and everything. All the ones that we witnessed, they're from our solar system. They are here. Mm-hmm. They're moving around the sun.
What's going about?
On the 19th of October, 2017, something different happened.
Yes.
Robert Werk, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly.
How do you spell it?
Werk. Werk, I think. Maybe it's work, but it could be Werk.
Yeah.
While at the Haleakala, sorry, I'm so bad at pronouncing. While he was at the Haleakala Observatory in Hawaii, detected an object that was from outside the solar system.
Yes.
In fact, this is currently on scientific record the first time we've ever detected an object in our solar system that was from outside of the solar system. So
well,
you can argue,
mean like it moved outside?
It started outside the solar system and then was
moved
into.
In. Oh, I see.
So I mean, you could argue on a long enough time scale, everything. If we go back to like Big Bang and everything was kind of from everywhere, but you know, Halley's Comet, Hale-Bopp, all these things, they're permanently in our solar system right now.
Yeah.
But they detected something that was not. It was formally designated as 1I/2017 U1, but is known colloquially as Oumuamua, which means scout in Hawaiian, like the first to go, the first to check it out. Yeah. So this is just really exciting to me because all of a sudden you're like, okay, we actually have something. Why is it here? How did it get into our solar system? This is bizarre.
Why are you here?
But it's a lot more bizarre than that. It's not just like some random asteroid or anything like that.
Right.
Almost everything about Oumuamua is bizarre. One important point of note is that the object is very elongated. It is a very uncommon thing for asteroids and comets to be elongated, like very long, like cigar-shaped.
Ooh. Oh, so like, you know how a lot of them have ice or whatever on it?
The comets have ice. Meteors and asteroids in general don't.
Something might have like built kind of within that trajectory. Like, I don't know. Anyway, I have no idea what I'm talking about.
We're going into a little bit about this.
I have theories that I have no basis on.
Though all asteroids, meteors, comets, and everything do have weird shapes. They're not like perfect circles like we like to think. They're kind of bizarre. Maybe they look like a lima bean or something like that.
Bean.
They often resemble a more compact shape. They do have limited amounts of gravity themselves and whatnot. They're not quite spherical, but they are still super unlikely to be these weird elongated shapes. That isn't to say that there aren't elongated shapes in space, but it's really uncommon.
But this one was like pretty extreme and like...
This one's extreme.
Right, okay. That's what I figured what you meant.
One estimate was that its size was 230 meters long, but only 35 meters tall and wide. This
Whoa.
is very, very elongated.
It's like a pole.
Like a pencil.
Like, yeah, I guess
or,
so.
or kind of like a really long cigar or something like that.
Yeah.
But the exact size couldn't really be determined due to difficulties in observing it and light refraction and everything like that. Some of the predictions suggested it was actually very flat. It was a very flat object, and it wasn't even round like a cigar. It might have been flat.
Oh, okay, like a disc or something.
We're going to get back to that later, because that's actually leading into the important
I hope we
part.
get back to that really cool chick who, like, called 911.
It's a fucking UFO.
Whoa!
Astronomers used numerous facts about its motion to infer that it was likely from outside the solar system. It also came from far north of the ecliptic plane. So, for any of you who don't know, so the ecliptic is kind of like most things in the solar system orbit around the sun along kind of a flat plane. It's like if you have a lazy Susan in the middle of a table and you have a bunch of stuff on it, all those would be the planets. They're all kind of on a plane. Well, this foreign object came from, like, imagine something just dropped from your ceiling onto the lazy Susan. It's like that came from...
It's like a spider who just, like, decided to join the crowd.
It's obviously coming from out of the solar system. It's not being affected by the sun's gravity over time in the same way all the objects had been in our solar system.
Yeah.
So as it's coming straight down, almost straight down north towards the sun, it passes very close to the sun, and then all of a sudden it changes direction because of the gravity, and then it launches off in kind of a 60-degree angle going back up out.
Bam.
Well, so the object was coming from essentially the direction of Vega in the constellation of Lyra.
Hey, isn't that your favorite?
I love Vega, but
Yeah.
that's because I really liked Contact, and Contact's about that.
Yeah.
So it's coming from the direction of Vega in the constellation of Lyra, roughly. It's not an exact thing. If it did indeed come from Vega, though, it would take about 600,000 years to make that travel. So let's say it was coming from Vega. Let's say it literally came from Vega. It would take 600,000 years to get here. Not quite a million years, but quite a lot.
Right.
And that's at the speed that we were able to tell it was going. This can't be guaranteed, though. It's all just, math and science facts. But
Things that we can't quite explain to you right now, but that's what's happening.
But full disclaimer, there's so much depth and complexity to these calculations that it would not only be boring for me to keep discussing them, I'm pretty sure half of it would go over my head. Like, I could say it, but some of the stuff I'm going to be regurgitating just because I read it, not because I actually understand it.
It would totally amuahua over my head.
So I'm going to just list the interesting facts that were derived from people qualified to actually discuss this and not just us.
Oh, good.
One suggestion considered its origin that it had been circulating the Milky Way more than once, and it was actually from a different part of the galaxy. So that's pretty exciting because the Milky Way galaxy is huge. At this point, the only things we're seeing from other parts of the galaxy is light, and that's very old. So that's pretty exciting. And that it wasn't actually from Vega, and it was kind of like as the galaxy's rotating, it just appeared to be coming from this area. Other theories even suggest that it could be remnants of a destroyed planet from outside the solar system.
I think it's just Vega sending an attack.
Vega's Vega's just hooking us up with a cigar. It's like, hey, I heard you have humans.
A giant cigar?
Yeah, it's like, I heard you have humans. Congrats.
I was thinking more of like a time capsule, like supplies. They're like, hey, you might need these eventually.
One thing I do find particularly interesting about its analysis is that it does appear to be pretty smooth. It was described as being...
How would they... I mean, I guess, like, based on, like, what's
so they weren't
bouncing off of it, like, see the...
You would be able to see from the imagery had at least a lot more surface detail. Not a shit ton, not, like, super high-resolution thing, but...
I need to see this.
It looks, from what we've been able to see, relatively smooth. You can't be perfect, but, most asteroids we see are so obviously rigid, rugged, having these things... This seemed pretty smooth from what they've seen.
I have a theory.
It's also red.
Ah, what the...
It's a deep red, which, to be fair, a lot of objects in our solar system in the Kuiper Belt do have a reddish quality as well.
But, like, smooth red?
Well, as far as we can tell, I don't think so smooth red. All right. But I haven't gotten to the most interesting part. This is where all this story that everyone's had to drink through to get to. We're getting to the most important part.
Let's do it.
And this is why it's on encounters. So the weirdest part is that something unexpected happened when it passed through our solar system.
Hold on. Did it break?
No.
Oh, did it flash?
No.
Did it change color?
Nope.
Did it say hi?
Nope.
Okay, I don't know.
It accelerated.
I don't know why that's worse than anything I said.
Now, we have witnessed things like this happen before with comets. This has to do with a lot of the ice and whatnot is melting, and you have what's called like outgassing, and the gases expand and kind of work as a repellent as it passes by the sun. As it gets close to the sun, all this stuff starts to melt, and it tends to leave a trail and a glow called a coma around a comet. The problem is there was no coma around this and no trail. There was no blurriness in the imagery or anything like that. All of that shows that there's some sort of gas expansion and trail leading away. There was nothing here.
So are you telling me that this thing saw Earth and, like a bad neighborhood, got the fuck out of there? It's like,
oh no, humans.
It was
peace
like,
out.
oh, I don't want to be around these parts anymore.
So, and beyond just that, analysis of the object, its shape, and its rotation suggests that if it was experiencing the kind of off-gassing we've seen in comets, it actually would have likely resulted in the object breaking apart because of how small it was compared to a lot of comets. So why did it speed up?
Do we know?
We don't. And that's the thing that I have to say. Experts don't know. There are theories, but there's no actual explanation for this is why.
So my girl who was drinking, I don't know, she wasn't wrong. Something crazy was in this guy. Good for her.
But there is one theory
Okay, I want to hear it.
that I really like. Is it crazy? Yes, it is crazy.
Hold on, can I tell you my theory first?
Absolutely.
Because I don't know if it's crazy, but it's just like in my head. Okay, hear me out. If this is really encounters and it's really an alien, I'm just going to go ahead and say that it's like a runaway ship. And it accelerated because it detected human life on Earth, and it was like, it might have been a threat, and it got the hell out of there.
All right.
Anyway, I just thought of this because it's like obviously the first time I've heard this story.
Totally.
And I've had 11% beer.
So
this is where we are right now.
All right. So let's go to this theory because it's not going to be outside of your realm of interest.
Ooh.
Enter Avi Loeb. Let's get his credentials out of the way. He is the chair of Harvard's Department of Astronomy.
Ooh.
He's director of the Institute for Theory and Computation and a founding director of the Black Hole Initiative and the chair on the National Academy Board of Physics and Astronomy. This guy has qualifications. This isn't a tinfoil hat scenario. This guy's educated. He's not spouting random crap. He's
not me.
He might still be
a good step up.
He might still be crazy, but he's got street cred.
But he's educatedly crazy.
He's got street cred in the incredibly competitive form of street fighting astronomy.
Cool.
He's there.
Yeah, you don't want to go up against this guy.
So now that we got this guy who's apparently not just a random guy who got abducted while he was out hunting
farming
ducks.
Oh, okay, sure.
Right. He wrote a theory that suggested the object was accelerated by the light from the sun. Similar to theories about solar sails that we have been trying to build successfully and unsuccessfully in recent years. He suggested this object may have been designed to use solar radiation to propel it through space. Designed being a key word here. He thinks it may not have been an asteroid, comet, meteor, or any type of rock.
Yes.
He said, quote, "What would happen if a caveman saw a cell phone? He's seen rocks all his life, and he would have thought, it's just a shiny rock."
I know where this is going.
End quote. His theory pulls into the suggestion that the object was indeed very flat, to the point of being only a few millimeters thick, but very long and very wide.
I'm so excited.
This could suggest that it is some form of alien probe or alien object. He thinks this is the first plausible explanation for the fact that the object accelerated away from the sun at a statistically significant amount.
Yeah.
So does he explicitly say it's an alien probe? No, he really doesn't.
No, of course well, I don't think he like should in general, because he doesn't like, if he's a real scientist, he's not going to do it without like more information. Exactly. It's just like a theory. It's just like one of those things. Like,
he's pretty good about not jumping the gun. He's pretty good about not hitting the.
I think like if
flow.
you're gonna shift that way as like a prolific scientist, I think you're just gonna be a little more careful about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, but he's also thinking about this stuff, so he's not just gonna be like, oh, they're totally here to bring back Elvis or something.
I mean, they should though, if they have him.
But he does suggest it could be a number of things, including, and this one I think is interesting, space junk.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Well, not
that's
necessarily,
what you said. Kind of a runaway ship, but this is a little different.
like something that just wasn't function or like whatever.
So he suggests it could have been a remnant from a ship or an alien device, just aimlessly flying through the galaxy, and in this case, catching some solar waves. I said that. He never said that. But I'm imagining he's like a surfer's like, oh, damn man, the waves are so bitch in here. Yeah, that was totally me to say that.
I really need the scientist to say it, though, because it's just, that would be amazing.
So I watched this guy's interview, and you know what? He's very personal. He seems pleasant. He didn't come off like a crazy person. And he does seem to think of it with a sense of awe and excitement. But there are plenty of skeptics in the scientific community that have not been too happy about his theory, even from the observatory where this was first seen. Particularly with someone so prominent and well-educated, his theory can be quite upsetting. So much to the point where some other people have outright said that this is crazy and can't be true, without being able to provide evidence to suggest that's not the case.
Well, it's interesting because I think, like, for us, it's cool. And I say just, like, these... we know basic stuff. I know you definitely are an enthusiast of astronomy, and I think like that's like cool and everything, but this is a guy within his realm of knowledge and what he's trying to suggest. I think it's like approached in the most like scientific way possible, but like obviously without a whole lot of evidence, except for like the things that people I'm guessing cannot explain. However, I guess this is exactly where you enter and say, there is another theory and there is an actual explanation. Take it away from me, Chase.
But I'm
loving.
I don't. First, let me go back. So I don't have anything to say. Some scientists have suggested that the object may have had just enough frozen material on its surface to act similar to a comet, but it had not. There was just enough to propel it, but not enough to actually show a visibly detectable trail on Earth.
So they don't think it was a comet then? Or like
they think it functioned like a comet. It's how it accelerated, meaning it had just the right amount of shit on it to accelerate it, but not enough for us to easily detect it from Earth, so it went under the radar. Possible, yes. It's probably the rational answer. I get it. But I'm still constantly thinking back to the fact this is an out of solar system object, meaning it's bizarre. It's weird. We're not used to this.
But here's the thing. Like, I guess, like if it made its round around the sun and everything of that sort, I feel like it would have melted enough. But I guess, like, if you mean, like, if it was...
when it's only 37 meters wide, like by one prediction, that's a little weird to me.
Like, if it was bigger...
maybe,
and then it like
because remember the other theory said that if it was doing serious offgassing, it would have broken apart because of its size.
Yeah.
So I get what they're saying. They're trying to come up with other explanations, which I appreciate. I think this is smart. It's a good thing to do.
But then if it was that big, I think like especially like how you described the like when it propelled itself after breaking off and like the energy and stuff like that. However, where's the other pieces? Would that have just like melted off, or are they thinking it came off from like a big enough piece where the speed was significant enough? That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, another thing is they noticed it was reddish, and comets tend to not be red.
Right. I didn't even think of that.
Asteroids and meteors tend to be red. Like they said, Kuiper Belt objects tend to be red, but those tend to be very mineral rock heavy element stuff, whereas most of the comets we've seen tend to, at least the ones I was talking about, like
at least I know of,
Yeah, I could be wrong. This is totally something I shouldn't just be talking out of my butt, but I'm pretty sure most comets aren't red.
Well, let's talk about science as we drink our beers.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we are not as educated, but like, that is interesting. That's something that I did know. And if I knew it, you as an enthusiast would know it. I don't know. Very strange.
Well, Loeb believes that the problem is that many scientists hold on to old prejudices that make believing or discussing aliens taboo. So he thinks that some scientists are just so caught up in the old school idea that you can't even acknowledge aliens because it's such a far out there idea that he thinks that they might be limiting themselves.
Okay.
So, does Loeb really believe it could have been aliens, an alien construct propelling through space similar to a solar sail? Maybe.
Yes.
But there's another factor which makes it so human that bothers me. This is the chase moment that makes me think there's more to this story. This theory he has is contained in his book, Extraterrestrial, The First Sign of Intelligent Life Beyond Earth. When he broke this story and theory to the world, it was right before this book was about to be released. So perhaps he was trying to stir up interest to get some sales on his book.
But here's the thing. I get what you're saying. However, he is still talking about what he said. It's not like he released a book and said, let me tell you about the million alien encounters that we've had throughout human history. He's specifically describing this phenomenon, whatever happened.
But the book isn't about this.
I thought you said it was. Like you said,
it's a section talked about in his book, but it's about extraterrestrials.
I see. Well, okay, here we go. Maybe.
It just feels like there's a possibility it was just he's pushing it harder than normal as a publicity stunt to sell his book.
To be fair, if, you know what I'm saying? If you wanted to tell someone something, timing is everything.
Of course.
And so it's not like he didn't think this before.
No, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? It's not like he's all of a sudden decided to write a book and then was like, hey.
But maybe he's pushing his idea harder than he might normally in a conversation with another professional.
Yeah.
He might be pushing it, but I think that. So, let me just. I always have a chase moment at the end, so I'm just gonna say this. What likely was this object? To once bring it back to Contact when we talked about Vega. One thing I also learned from the movie Contact was Occam's razor, which was the simplest solution usually is the right one. And if we're being honest here, what's most likely? That an interstellar object, as bizarre as it was, moved through our solar system, and there's a few things we don't understand, but for the most part was probably just another piece of mineral or debris moving through our solar system. And there's just a few things we don't know because it doesn't match our predictions just because we've been observing space as accurately as we have now for such a short period of time. Is it likely that whatever accelerated it was just something we don't know? Maybe it was functioning like a comet. Nothing major. It's the simplest solution, and it is probably the right solution that it was just a rock. And where the rock came from, we don't know. It probably was from out of the system, but we don't know its exact origins. Is that likely? Occam's razor would say yes.
Cool.
That said, there's something incredibly exciting to me about this idea about an ancient piece of space junk that may have belonged to a previous civilization that just somehow, this broken piece of windshield hanging out in the solar system captures some solar radiation and accelerates, and we are just advanced enough that we catch it, but we don't know what we saw.
We can't understand
kind of like he said, a bunch of monkeys seeing a cell phone and not knowing what it is and thinking it's a shiny rock.
It's our monolith.
There's something about that just excites me, inspires me, thinks of all the science fiction stories that could be written about it, and it makes me think of the universe with a sense of wonder in an exciting way. Not that aliens are abducting people or anything crazy like this, that what if a piece of space junk flew through our neighborhood?
That would be incredible.
So is it an alien spaceship? Probably not. But this is one of the times where I'd like to think it was because it makes the story a lot cooler.
Let me rephrase that. Was it a piece of spaceship? Yes. I'm going to end it there.
So that is my end of episode in counter. Or possibly end of episode rock. But anyway.
Yeah. Could be a rock. Could be an alien. Whatever. No in-betweens, though.
I mean, let's be honest. The coolest part of the story was that it's called the Oumuamua.
Oumuamua.
See, on a previous episode, I had my tropical terrors. This one was totally an end of episode encounter with tropical terror type names.
Before we end it, I just want to go back to my girl who did the call.
Who did the call? Oh yeah, the chick.
So
I'll show you the video. She sounds.
Let me see.
Possibly drunk.
Possibly, or just excited. I'd be excited.
I think she might have just been excited. It was late at night. I'm betting she was drunk because her and like her boyfriend or whatnot chased this blue thing like on the road until they had to stop and then they saw it go into the ocean.
You know what? Either way, I commend them because like it was an interesting object in the sky, and they're one of the few people who saw this amazing thing. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
It wasn't predicted. It's not something that is
Absolutely.
common. It came from who the fuck knows.
Still hasn't been explained. There's no known satellites at the time or anything like that.
Those motherfuckers saw it, and I'm so happy about that because I just like that they saw it. I don't know. I feel like someone personally saw it and they told us about it. Granted, in 911. Wait, you said 911, right? Like
she called 911
okay.
and she was like, "We need to get some cops out here." And all I was thinking is like,
okay, that was a little weird.
What are cops gonna do about a blue light in the sky? Cops gonna show. He's like, I don't know what to do.
Maybe record it at least. I don't know. Like someone.
Oh, she already had the blurry, shaky camera.
Oh, good.
We were set.
I'm shocked she didn't have a Polaroid.
If you look hard enough, you can see Nessie in the blue shape. It could have just been Nessie's, like,
hold up.
Nessie's car. Nessie was going for a joyride at night.
Nessie bitch only appears in Polaroids. Okay, get it right. Or, like, very low quality photography.
Maybe it's like Nessie's nephew who's, like, a little bit more technologically oriented. He's, like...
He's in space now.
He's in cell phones only.
Yes. The logical explanation. I'm so glad we finally solved the mystery here.
Mm-hmm.
Well...
If we ever invent a brand of Polaroid cameras, we have to call them Nessies. Wouldn't it be great if our film always had like an imprint of Nessie on them, so every picture you took always had Nessie somewhere in the picture?
That'd be the shittiest.
You could take a wedding photo with it. There's like Nessie in between the groom and the bride.
Super cute. Oh man. Well, I mean, is this the end?
This is the end of our stories, but it doesn't have to be the end of drinking if you don't want it to be. And I believe in you guys.
If you believe.
Do you believe in drinking?
Da-da-da-da. I don't actually know the song. Which one is it? Oh, Do You Believe in Magic?
I think that's what it's supposed to be. Yeah.
There it is.
Oh, my brain was on autopilot when I was singing. I didn't even go with the original.
Yeah, I've already lost you.
Yeah.
So it's time to end the episode. It's time to end the episode. And I think, yeah, like I mentioned before... There's going to be an episode 2 of The Bell Witch.
Part 2.
There was, like I said, more material to provide. However, I thought maybe I would reserve that. Because now that I think about it, I just like, it's more current and like aftermath stuff. I had gone so long with the other information. I thought it was a cool story. So anyway.
No, it's great. I can't wait to hear the end of it. Now, next episode might have your part 2. There's no part 2 to my story unless that object decides to come back because it's like, wait, what?
Okay, then we would all know.
So I think my story's done for at least the time being. We got another 600,000 years before it returns and says, yeah, so we found some life and they really like rock and roll music and fast food and all that
If
stuff.
we still do in that time frame, then I'll be impressed.
Oh, yeah, we're all going to kill ourselves off with our nugs.
Nuggets. Yeah, so
Part 2 next episode.
Part 2 next episode. Thank you for listening this episode.
Absolutely.
And I hope to see you next time. With that said, if you want to hear us on any other platform that we have not described or have been streaming yet, let us know. We're still kind of fresh and new. Like I said, it's only episode 11. We're still figuring things out, trying to make things better.
This episode had a suggestion. So if you guys have a suggestion, tell them where to find it or to get in contact with us.
Yes, hotwpodcast@gmail.com. Go there. Let us know.
We got proof it works.
It does. Well, Sean texted me because we're friends, but like
it's the same thing.
It's a form of communication between you and I.
You should have just lied. So everyone's like, I'll use that email.
We're
address.
So official. Someone random. Nope. It's
to be honest, a lot of you actually have our number, so you can text us too.
Just let a girl know, okay? If you want me to say something, I'm just super happy to like research something new that I probably never delved into deeply, and I think that's the most exciting part about it. I might have known, and I did know about the Bell Witch once I started reading. When I started reading about it, and then I was like, wow, I didn't know about this and that, and like, oh my gosh, it's just super exciting. And please, guys, like whoever's out there, let us know.
And just you guys wait, because a suggestion from one of our other listeners, Vivi, what One of our plans is when the pandemic's a lot safer out there and we can go do stuff, we're going to try going to some haunted locations like haunted hotels and recording the episode there while we're dealing with it. And I have a few ideas. It was we'd already been talking about it, but she was really pushing that, and I think she's right. That's going to be some exciting future episodes. She's
very right, and we're going to have to figure that out. I think we might have to like buy specific equipment in order for us to travel, because if you see the amount of cables that we have, and like our microphones are pretty good, like for sure. I just don't think we can hold them. Like that's not what it's for. Yeah. So yeah, like, you know, we have to figure that out.
So we're excited about stuff to come. Hopefully as the year becomes more freeing to us with our abilities to record and do some cool stuff.
Yes, indeed. So this brings us to the end. Thank you for listening.
Absolutely. And we hope you continue drinking, and we hope to see you next week for another thrilling episode of Hair of the Werewolf.
Yes.
And if you are listening to this hungover, just remember
that the best cure for a hangover is fear.
Bye.
See ya.